Okay. So, hey everyone, I'm Udi Wertheimer. This is Reckless VR, and it's great to see all of you. You know that we do this every weekend, but if you don't know, then you can join us in all of our amazing channels to stay up to date. There's Reckless VR on Telegram. There's recklessvr.com, where you can sign up and get emails with invites to this meetup every weekend. We have great Bitcoin meetups every weekend. Reckless_VR on Twitter, Reckless VR on YouTube, tons of stuff. Yeah, so I guess this time, well, the camera setup is a bit different, so you'll see the camera like in front of you. If if it obscures your view, you can just move around. There's plenty of space. Yeah, try not to move too much around because it can be a little bit distracting, but you can move a little bit. Like if I throw a ball, you can try to catch it, but you can try. Yeah, so today we're hosting a panel on Lightning games, and we have pretty much the best people in the world to talk about Lightning games here. So we have over there on the right, it's Christian Moss from Zebedee. To my left is Desiree Dickerson, from Lightning Labs, and Jack Everitt from Thunder Games. So thank you for joining us. True pioneers, to be honest, in Lightning gaming. And I guess before we get to Lightning and Bitcoin, I just wonder if any of you like consider yourselves like gamers with non-Lightning games. Are there any video games you're playing these days that that you like playing?
Yeah, I'm really into.
Jump in.
Go ahead, Jack. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm into. I kind of fell out of love with games a little bit because I'm sort of, getting on a bit into my 30s. But I'm really getting into VR now, and it's kind of changed how I perceive games in a big way. Like the first time I played a VR game, it was like I was a little kid again. So yeah, I like a game I play a lot. It's kind of old now, I guess, but it's Super Hot. Do you know that one?
Oh yeah.
It's just like great. An awesome mechanic, and obviously like Beat Saber's a good example of a sort of interactive game that I play a lot. Yeah, I like to play old games as well. But because I work on games all day, it's kind of like at the end of the day, I'm not really interested in looking at the screen anymore.
Yeah. Super Hard is awesome when other people look at you playing it too. That's maybe even better from their perspective.
It's a great strategy game, isn't
You're
it?
like,
it's surprisingly cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So Des, you said you were.
I haven't played Super Hot yet. But I am obsessed with Beat Saber. Like, I mean, I will play like an hour a day. I mean, it is a full-fledged workout. Like, I get so. I love it. But I love Animal Crossing. I've always loved Animal Crossing. So that's a big one for me. I kind of had to step away because it was like, oh my god, I'm spending so much time here. But it was kind of cool because being remote, it came out like right around the time of like the whole quarantine thing. So a lot of folks on the Lightning Labs team we play like Animal Crossing together. So like every Friday or every Wednesday we would kind of just like all congregate on somebody's island and like mess around. Like roast beef is like amazing. Like he was just like terraforming his island. Was crazy. Eventually I was like I mean, was it really that I had to step away because I have too much work, or because I'm just not as good as everybody else? Like my island, like was kind of a trash heap. But yeah, that's like my favorite one. So.
Yeah, Animal Crossing can be addictive.
Yeah.
It's yeah, they know what they're doing. What about you, Chris? Are you playing anything?
I think Des sounds like my wife because she plays Beat Saber and Animal Crossing every day. We actually got in an argument today because she wants to play Beat Saber, but I said I need the VR for this. So I've stolen her Beat Saber time.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, at the moment, I spend most of my time making games, but going back to my wife, she actually forces me to play games. It's like our couples thing. So the last thing...
oh, really?
Yeah. So last thing we played, I think we played the Resident Evil remakes, and she forced me to play Metal Gear Solid 5, which I liked, which was good. Yeah, so mainly my games I played growing up, I suppose, were the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Monkey Island was a big thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Monkey Island. That was great. You're making me feel a little old, but yeah, it was a great game. Great games. Yeah. Okay. So Chris, that's the past. What about now? What are you doing with Zebedee today? So tell us a bit about Zebedee, because I'm not sure everyone knows.
Yeah. Well, for those who haven't heard about Zebedee, it's a company I co-founded with Simon Cowell, and not the Simon Cowell from X Factor. I'm not sure. It's called something different in the States, isn't it? Anyway, a different Simon Cowell, and also Andre Neves. Basically, it's quite simple. We have a gaming API, SDK, and dashboard to make it simple for game developers to add Lightning into their games. Like the idea being that the game developers, we want them to focus on making the games, not having to worry about all the technicalities behind the Lightning network. So we're building these APIs and SDKs to make it easier for them. We also have a wallet that's coming out, which one of the things we found out with current Lightning wallets is they're not necessarily suited towards gamers, so having a gaming focused Lightning wallet. And finally, what I do at Zebedee is I'm making some Lightning sample games that we demo at MintGox. So MintGox is an online Lightning event, much like this. It's online, and we have a VR component that's tomorrow. So at the moment we have a few games, but the main game is a Mario Kart style game called Bitcoin Rally, which is Mario Kart with Bitcoin, with the Lightning Network. So you can race other people, you can collect coins. Those coins are your Bitcoins to withdraw. You can throw the coin to other people. The audience who watches the live esports, they can also kind of pay Satoshis to drop power-ups. So we're kind of making these sample games just to try and experiment with new types of gameplay that are now possible with the Lightning Network.
Cool. What does a Lightning wallet for games look like?
Well, so initially, it's not too different from a normal wallet. So we obviously have the base features such as scanning, a QR code. So that's kind of the basic stuff we're doing. Obviously, everything's a lot more streamlined. The main features we are adding are stuff like gamer tags, and as well as we are working on some protocols which will let you kind of get rid of the QR codes. So one of the issues is if you want to kind of, I think like QR codes for gaming, it's a bit of a hangover from Bitcoin, but ideally when you play a game, you don't want to have to scan a QR code the whole time. So the idea is you'll be able to link your wallet with a game, and then the game can talk to the wallet over a protocol. And as you're playing a game, you'll be able to send and receive Lightning. So that would be perfect, for example, for VR, because you can't scan a QR code in VR.
Right.
I accidentally tried once and realized you kind of have that VR thing when you forget you're not in the real world. But yeah, so that will, and for example, I'd like to make a sample game, something like VR archery, where everybody links their wallets, put on their headsets, and then you kind of shoot each other with bows and arrows and get stats, something like that. So that's kind of where the wallet is going in the next months, hopefully.
That's really cool. Yeah, so having a wallet that can really fully integrate with games instead of
stream. Yeah, exactly. Because I think the main the interesting thing about the Lightning Network is it allows streaming and micropayments, but you can't really stream if you're having to kind of scan a QR code every few seconds. It kind of breaks the experience.
Yeah, that's cool. And okay, so that's Zebedee. And Jack, can you tell us a bit about Thunder Games?
Yeah, so Thunder Games is kind of I've got another company that does mobile games, and I've always been a Bitcoiner, I guess. Following the progress of it since about 2013, and I always wanted to have some kind of Bitcoin game, but I always, like Chris was saying, with the QR codes and the copying and pasting invoices and all of this stuff, and having to wait for the confirmation times, and it just was too much friction for a game, so I never really looked into it until the Lightning Network sort of started picking up. I researched it and followed it more, but I was still not 100% on board, because there was still this kind of, you got to copy and paste your invoice to cash out from a service or pay for something. So then I don't know who they are, but they must be some kind of, there's like a little group of people developing the LNURL protocol, I don't know what their real names are, but they've all got their pseudonyms. And I experimented with that, and that was just around the Lightning Network conference time. And it was the first time I could like let someone cash out from a game without having to, set up an account first or have to copy and paste invoices. So Thunder Games came from the idea that I wanted to make a game, get it on the App Stores, App Store and Google Play, and see what Apple and Google would say about it, and have Bitcoin prizes in it using Lightning with no sign-ups and no copying and pasting or QR codes, like minimum friction for the frictionless money. I'm just trying to take that concept. Now it's kind of got my MVP, which is the Bitcoin bounce game, which is like the most simple game I could make on a budget, with like all the elements of a game, and then this kind of idea of claiming some Bitcoin from the game. So from now, I'm basically trying to make some more games and do some more, not quite as cool as Chris in his VR concepts, but just iterate on what I've found and try and work out how you can add Bitcoin and Lightning into a games business and actually increases the revenue of the business, so that you're not just putting it in as a gimmick, you're putting it in because it increases retention of players on your game, or they get more engaged with certain aspects of the game, and in turn that will make you make more money, because there's not much point putting these things into your business unless they help your business. So that's kind of what I'm really focusing on, is how do I does adding Bitcoin into a game make it more addictive and for the players, and in turn making me more money, I guess.
Yeah.
You have like the most impressive stats. Like, I don't know if you want to share, like, if you feel comfortable, but like the stats that you have for Bitcoin Bouncer just show how addicting and interesting your game is.
Yeah. So one of the really cool stats was when I first brought the game out. It didn't have too many downloads at first, but one of the key things in the mobile games industry is what is your day one retention, i.e. how many people come back and play the next day. And normally you want to get to around 40% of people who download it come back the next day. And that's like the benchmark, but you don't normally achieve it on the first attempt of your iteration of your game. But on Bitcoin Bounce, it was like 60%.
Oh, wow.
And I approached some publishers about the game like within a month, and they're all like really interested in testing it and potentially publishing it. But immediately we came into loads of problems, like with Facebook and I can't remember what the other problem was, but basically to scale a game on mobile, you need to use Facebook ads and other ad networks. But it was against their rules to have a game with like prizes in it. So the publishers were like, well, we can't release your game. So that was the first kind of like major disappointment. But going back to what Desiree said, is that since then, like, the game's been growing, and I think it's probably has about 3,000 people play it a day now. It's had about 25,000 downloads, I think. And we've done about 75,000 Lightning Network transactions. And I've just put the stats on my website because I can see them all the time, and I thought I might be interested in, if other people could see. And it's sort of 75,000 transactions so far, and the average transaction fee is 0.57 sats per transaction.
Yeah.
So yeah,
not bad.
It's pretty cool. It's working well. Like the only problems I've ever had are social problems, like the Facebook one. Using Lightning in the games has been great so far.
Yeah. So do players get their like winnings immediately, or do they have like a balance on the app and they can withdraw whenever they want? How does that?
I'll explain. So the game works. I've basically got a raffle in the game. So you play the game, and the better you are at the game, the more raffle tickets you can win, because the raffle tickets are positioned in the places in the game which is the optimal place to get to. So basically the game, you have to bounce along the blockchain and see how far you can get. It's really simple. So you win. You try and collect as many raffle tickets as you can during the day, and then the next day is when the raffle happens. So if you've got more tickets, you've got more chance of winning the bigger prize. So once per day, everyone gets all their prizes at the same time. They can cash out whenever they want, but there's a 7-day window where if they haven't cashed out there, then by then the prize expires.
Right.
And the reason
pretty
it
cool.
works that way is because, going back to what I said about trying to increase retention of gamers, is I've deliberately made the prize draw the next day, so they have to come back the next day into the game. That's why it's set
that
up
makes
like
sense.
that.
Yeah, and
That
if
makes
people
sense.
haven't played Bitcoin Bounce yet, Jack is actually running a tournament for Mint Gox, and we're giving away 10,000 Satoshis every hour for 24 hours. So definitely, and that started at 2, and it runs until 2 o'clock tomorrow when Mint Gox starts. So definitely download it. Maybe when you're out of VR, but if you're streaming, download it now and like start playing now because we are giving away 10,000 sats an hour.
That's a lot of sats. It's more than I have. Cool. That's so. You know what, Desiree? Why don't you tell us a bit about Mint Gox? Because all of you are involved in Mint Gox, which is this monthly event that you're throwing. I think it's the first Sunday of every month, right?
Yep, exactly. So we are on event number 5, which is crazy. Kind of just like step back to the beginning and the genesis of the event. I mean, it's like these guys are doing, all of the great work, building these games, building the SDK for games and future games, and they're doing amazing stuff. And so, we actually had a panel at the Lightning conference in October, and like I said, I've always loved video games. I've always played video games, and so it's always been an interesting use case to me personally, especially when I'm, working obviously at Lightning Labs and thinking about, the use cases and how do we onboard more users. And for me, it's always just seemed like a natural onboarding mechanism, not to just necessarily onboard people to the games, but to onboard people to Bitcoin and Lightning directly through these games. So it's always been my favorite use case for Lightning, and something that I was interested in. So I held the panel in October and, met the guys from Zebedee, and, I had known Simon a little bit before. But yeah, I mean, they were doing great work, and they were doing had planned to do a lot of in-person events around like Magical Crypto Conference and Bitcoin 2020, and obviously that was halted very quickly when the whole virus thing happened and we weren't really able to travel and those events were canceled. And I was involved with some of the planning around the Lightning speakers and just kind of event tracks at Magical Crypto Conference. And, I really wanted to have a gaming component there as well. And so Simon and I were randomly on a call together, and I don't know how it happened, but we all got to talking. It was like, okay, well, why don't we kind of transition from doing in-person type events and showcasing the great games that people are building on Bitcoin and Lightning and what the possibilities are, and actually transition to continuing those events, but just hosting them online, whether that be just, live streaming or virtual reality. And so I think it was March was our first event, and we were kind of just evolving, and it's really just, an experimentation. And I think, or it's really just an experiment, and it's just been a really cool opportunity for us to just see where this goes, like what people are interested in, and it's really evolved since March. We now have Christian pulled together a really cool custom Mint Gox VR world. So, if people are around their headsets tomorrow, I definitely encourage you to stream the Mint Gox event tomorrow through VR. The world is incredible. There's like the magical internet money wizard guy and there's like moving, and there's a money tree that like drops coins. It's just like really incredible. You can also like go jump off a cliff and climb a mountain. I mean, you can stay in there and be entertained forever. So it's really incredible, and just to see kind of the games evolve is really exciting. So I'm really, really excited, not only for us to like keep showcasing awesome games that Zebedee is putting out, and also Jack, but we've also had Satoshi's games demo Light Night, and we had they demoed, and then Donner Lab, we actually did like a whole Bitcoin bounty hunt tournament that was super popular, and I can see that kind of taking off as well. So yeah, it's like kind of evolving this like little kind of esports type feel to it. So yeah, we're really excited, and I think one of the coolest things that the one thing I'm focusing mostly on is just like thinking about how does this event series evolve as a business model, and it's been really cool to see. Like before we were just like trying to get enough Satoshis to give out during each event, and now we're just getting a lot of people actually coming to us, like being like, how do we get involved? How do we become sponsors? Because it's really the perfect use case, or it's really the perfect example of like these circular economies. Tomorrow we have Bitrefill as a sponsor for the Bitcoin Rally tournament that we were talking about earlier, and we have like Christian has made these really cool Bitrefill refill stations where you drive through, you refill with Satoshis, which you can actually throw at people later. And like hopefully people will earn Satoshis, and then they can actually take their Bitcoin after the game and cash out at Bitrefill for gift cards. And they have like 2,500 different merchants. So it's really like the perfect example of like a circular like marketing or advertising mechanism. So not only are the games and the fact that they're built on Bitcoin and Lightning, not only is that cool, but we're actually starting to explore like these new business models and these new ideas around like what marketing and advertising can look like when you're working with like these micro payments and micro incentives.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. I wanted to ask like how, if a game is giving out sats, then what's the business model there? Because usually, you need to cover that somehow. So that's a really cool way. So you have like sponsors who are, interested in the same community, and you have people who are already into games. So obviously like something like Bitrefill is an obvious fit with gift cards and so on to buy other games. So yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah,
and by the way, you guys, if you're, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just saying it's just very new because it's like, they can buy some ads or, whatever with their sponsorship, and, that's in the game. And, not only is like, okay, they can kind of measure who goes to their website after and clicks, but like they can actually redeem some of like their sponsorship by us driving traffic to their website. So that's kind of just an interesting new concept.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's really cool for attendees too. I attended like at least a couple of the Mintgox events, if not more, I don't remember. And it's really cool also to see like how they progress over time, because really add like new experiments every month. So all of you guys should really check it out. It's tomorrow, like the same time as this one was, right? So it starts at 2 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, so you should definitely check it out tomorrow. 2 p.m. Eastern, yeah, 2 p.m. Eastern, yes. Right. I'm just guessing the times. I have no idea. I'm on Israel time. I have no idea.
Close enough.
Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. So definitely check it out. And I want to explore with you guys, like, I don't know, like kind of how Lightning fits into the general gaming ecosystem. And I'm not, you probably know about much more about gaming than I do, but I can I imagine that there are like three like main pillars that are probably like the distributors, like, I don't know, like Steam and Epic Store and the consoles and the app stores and whatever. And there's obviously the developers and their own problems, and obviously the gamers and what they want. So I kind of want to start with with distribution. So I guess a ton of people who are gaming these days are doing this either on like their phone, which means like the App Store or the Play Store, or they do it on consoles, which with their own like closed systems. And they're very tightly controlled. They have a ton of restrictions on what developers are allowed to do, and they usually want games to use like the native payment system of like if you're on iPhone, you have to use like Apple's payment system. And so I'm wondering like how Lightning fits into this. Like, do you see a way to like overcome those restrictions? Or is Lightning gaming more like a web thing and a self-distributed thing?
Yeah, I'll kind of jump in there. Actually, kind of recently was on a call with, I can't mention who it was, but we had a call with the CEO of a very large gaming company who has something like $7 billion revenue, and I kind of expected, it's going to be like he's not going to be interested. It's going to be a boring call just to say hello. And I'm actually quite surprised that they were quite interested in Lightning, and they were kind of asking questions. Well, how do we approach this to the consoles? I think Nintendo will be much more open because they've always been an innovator. And it seems like, speaking to this CEO, at the moment, because the gaming economy is becoming massive, but it's still quite trapped, there seems to be this need to try and kind of unlock some of the value in these massive games they have. Like a few years ago, that's not the message I was getting. There was, obviously the image of crypto was Bitcoin. I say crypto because generally that's what the gaming CEOs, they kind of think of all crypto. But the image was quite poor, and it was a bit, unsure, and there was like grey markets. But each year, I think it gets a little bit more mainstream, and they get a little bit more comfortable. And I think at the moment, I don't see the pushback being about them wanting to control like the value, wanting to control the currency. Obviously, that exists. I think the main pushback is just people are concerned about regulation and security and like how exactly does it work. But I think as those kind of issues get solved, I think we'll start to see a few larger game companies experimenting with it. At the moment, the larger game companies we've spoken with, like obviously there are no plans to put these into like the massive games like Fortnite, but all these game companies, they're quite clever, and they actually have these secret smaller studios that they don't talk about, but where they experiment with. And the message I've been getting is that a lot of them are quite keen to try stuff like Lightning in these smaller game studios, with games that maybe they haven't been doing so well lately, and, they want to implement it to see if, A/B testing, does it pick up? So I think if we can kind of crack that, and this is kind of my call to the Bitcoin community, if they show some love to games that add it, I think it'll kind of give a green light for them to start to play around with Lightning and in larger titles. So that's kind of how I feel at the moment. And maybe Jack can talk a bit more about the App Store because he has experience there, I think.
Yeah, I've got some recent experience with that. So I've done a lot of reading of the App Store rules, and there's lots of ambiguity, and there's kind of like loopholes that I can see that I think if I exploit that, what's going to happen? Like, are they going to completely ban my account? One kind of thing you can do right now is you're allowed to use any payment processor you want on the Google Play or the App Store if the thing you're purchasing is like a physical product or a service. So you could potentially have your mobile game and have a merchandise store, and you could accept Bitcoin on that and for payments for that. So you could have Bitcoin payments in your game on the App Store in that way. And a sort of more experimental thing that I've seen like the guys from Satoshi Games are doing this with Light Night, is the idea of players and the audience being able to vote on things they like. So I believe Satoshi's Games are doing something for Light Night where they're going to put a load of suggestions up for new character designs, and everyone gets to vote with Satoshis, like spending Satoshis is your vote. And I don't see why that wouldn't be allowed on the app stores either. So, for example, you could do a game where anyone could create a character, and there could be this whole community of people creating characters for your game, and then the way it's voted for and like what gets upvoted is based on using Satoshis. And there's a concept I've seen in the Lightning Network stores as well. You know, that website. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but they pretty much do that. So there are some kind of loopholes, but the problem with it is at the moment is they don't like the idea of you giving away. It's basically the App Store don't like the idea of you giving away money so that people play the game more. That's kind of a no-no. So like with my Bitcoin bounce game, I'm having issues because I give too much money away. Basically, it's like the feedback I've had so far is you've given too much money away. Like that, people are only playing your game to win the money. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. But okay, I've got so that's what, then on yeah, then the Google Play is more like you can give away, you can incentivize people to like do anything you want. So you can pay them to do surveys, you can pay them to play a game, you can do anything you like, but you can't do things like competition. Who's the best gets $1,000. You can't do stuff like that, whereas you can do stuff like that on the App Store. But these things are all on the edge of the like potentially them changing their mind at any moment. So it is kind of risky, which is why like web games are probably more of a safe bet for early stage Bitcoin games, because you don't have that worry that you're gonna get cancelled by Google or Apple.
Can I just jump in there just because I kind of because I had like a Bitcoin iOS game in like 2013-14, and I kind of spoke to Apple. Maybe the regulations have changed somewhat, but the main impression I got that it was okay to give away Bitcoin in a game. That was fine. However, you couldn't do in-app purchases. And it seemed to be one of the main reasons for that. Obviously, the Apple get a cut, but I think one of the main things was just Apple don't know how to refund people if they buy in-app purchase of Bitcoin, right? You know, if you sell something for Bitcoin in a game, and normally you contact Apple and they refund. So that was like a main thing, simple thing like that. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the main problems is the way that your developer's relationship is with Apple. Is you give them your game and they give you royalties from the game, so you're not actually selling stuff directly to people. You just give the rights over to Apple to your product, and they sell it on, and then they give you a commission. So you have no control how they want to take their money because it's their shop. You know, it's like me making a really cool chocolate bar and it being sold in like I don't know what a famous supermarket and expecting that telling that supermarket you have to accept your money in this way. You know, it's like that. So it's not open at all. But so if you wanted it to be open, it would then all of these regulations that Apple have figured out, like how to pay taxes in this country, how to do sales tax, how to, you know, all the laws around creating companies in every country around the world would have to completely change, like how they've set up their legal structure. So at the moment, it's easy for me to just make a game, Apple take it on and distribute it. Whereas if then I start wanting to be in control of payments, like I need to know what to do in every single country. You know? So it's not just as simple as they're not allowing it. It's like, you know, there's a lot more depth to it than that, I think.
Yeah, they're giving you a service. Yeah, and I mean, obviously their business model is to take 30% off of every purchase.
Yeah,
so they don't want you to use other payment methods.
Chris is right. They definitely want to take as much money as they can because they're resistant about reducing that 30%. They're even in, like in the news recently, there's like a big court case at the moment, isn't there, where everyone's questioning, like, how can you charge 30%? Like, this is crazy. I'm hoping they're going to reduce that to 8%. Really hoping, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think Epic Games, the CEO of Epic Games, who obviously make Fortnite Unreal. He went on a Twitter rant about the whole 30% in Apple and was tweeting stuff that was, you know, very pleasing to ear. You know, stuff like we need a way for players to get value out of the game and have a direct relationship with the developer and the player. So maybe the tide is turning a little bit.
Isn't Satoshi's Games like trying to like come out with some type of like distribution platform? At least for these Bitcoin and Lightning games.
They are.
I remember hearing
that. I think it's called Elixir. Yeah, they are working on trying to have like I guess a Steam for Bitcoin games, something like that. But I don't want to put words in their mouth. So.
I guess there's not enough games yet for them to release it quite yet. But...
Yeah. And we'll definitely need to get them on Mint Gox to talk about it when, you know, it gets a little bit more built out.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I forget his name right now, but the CEO of Epic Games,
Tim Sweeney.
he tried like Tim Sweeney, yeah. So they tried, like Epic Games tried to have Fortnite distributed outside of the Android store. Like for the longest time, you could only download it like through, just through the web, which was pretty huge at this time. That such a big game with so many, like, I don't know, tens of millions of players probably on Android alone, was not available on the Play Store, and everyone had to get it otherwise. But eventually they caved in. And added it to the Play Store with the 30% tax that comes with this. So even for like the most popular game in the world, it's kind of hard to escape that.
Well, Google has that safety net, I can't remember the name of it, like the virus checker thing. So if you install like an APK on your phone, it like gives you loads of scary messages, doesn't it? And like tries to tell you this is not, and sometimes it deletes apps from your phone without you knowing. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were getting problems with that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So a lot of challenges ahead. That's good. I wonder, Desiree, maybe you have some ideas on this. Like, I don't know, like for gamers, I guess, if you want to buy or pay with things in games, it's usually kind of easy to just do it with credit cards, especially like if you're playing on a console, you already have your credit card there, and you just click a button and you make a payment. And the same way, like the game can, the game can reward you by giving you points in the internal system of the game, whatever it is, and then it can be small as, it can be as small as you want, and then you later buy items with that. So like, I guess, how do you feel that Lightning is fitting into that, or can make this better than those systems that are already available and are pretty simple to use, I guess, for gamers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's obviously a barrier to entry when you're like talking about the transaction sizes that are feasible with fiat, right? I mean, I think that like that's what's really unique here is the micro transaction type of thing, and I think I don't know, like someone had said something to me where it was just like it has to do about like the way that like our minds process scale, where it's like, are you like, if someone told you, okay, cool, if you play this game you could win like a fraction of a penny, would you like go and download it and play it? Like that's absolute madness. Like, no, I'm not like downloading some stupid app for that. But if you tell me, oh, you could possibly win 1,000 Satoshis, I'd be like, okay, even if you don't understand Bitcoin, like 1,000 of anything, like sounds like a lot. So I think that there's like some power to like the scale of what a Satoshi even sounds like psychologically. So I think that's pretty cool and pretty powerful. And like I think I don't know about everybody else, but like when I have like Bitcoin, like I hold my Bitcoin, right? I'm a hodler through and through, but I also have like a stash of Satoshis that I spend like a mad woman. Like I'm literally buying and feeding those stupid chickens all the time, like buying now I'm like buying everything on Fold, and like I've become crazy. And so I do think that like, it's almost like how you get addicted to Amazon, where you can kind of get addicted to like earning these like small amounts, but once they get bigger, you're like, it's not Bitcoin anymore. It's like, okay, I earned it. So it's not the same as like the Bitcoin I'm like holding. So you're more likely to spend it. So I mean, I think that not only does like obviously like Lightning payments scale Bitcoin, but I think it also kind of Lightning scales our perception of like the value of Bitcoin. Not that like just because they're Satoshis and you're more likely to send them, they're not valuable, but like I think, being maximalists or like close to maximalists, we're like, oh, we're never sending our Bitcoin. But I think like these different like scales of transactions like really kind of open up a new like mental model for like how we approach the use, like the daily use of our Bitcoin. So I think for me, I mean, I can't even remember if this is answering your question, but I think, you know, like this is a little bit more extrapolated, but like that's kind of how, you know, I think Lightning payments specifically can kind of like, they play into games, but like they play into like a larger economy of microtransactions.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, you get like, you know, you got like your spending wallet with sets you got through some game, and then, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
You guys
I mean, if
want
you
to
look
chime
at,
into that, or yeah?
sorry, I mean, just one last thought. I mean, like, if you guys are familiar with Stack, like, which was formerly Stackwork, like that's also, I mean, it's not a game, but you're like actually, it's another way of like earning satoshis. So, you know, I think more and more of these like games or ways to not just like buy Bitcoin, but like to actually earn Bitcoin. Like I think that's going to be like kind of a popular model moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. So like instead of having a single game with its internal balance, you get sats in a game, you spend it on groceries, and the other way around. Yeah, that's cool. So I guess maybe one way that this seems to, at least for now, it seems to kind of fit, is that a lot of the Lightning and Bitcoin enabled games seem to be also, you know, kind of aimed at the Bitcoin community. So they're very Bitcoin themed, you know, there's like Bitcoin items around. I don't know if it's true for all of them, but it seems to be, like, from my experience, it seems to be true for a lot of them. You know, as opposed to trying to appeal to the entire mainstream gamer audience. So do you think that this is going to stay that way going forward? Is that like games, or maybe even larger scoped games, they're really focused on just the Bitcoin community or crypto community, or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think
Anyone can
from my
jump in.
point of view, I've my first game, obviously exactly what we've described, Bitcoin bounce, and it's you got a little Bitcoin character, which is a coin, and you bounce along a blockchain. So it's exactly what we described. And,
Yeah.
Although in the game there isn't actually any, you know, it's a very abstract. Like the blockchain is like completely abstract graphics, and there's not too much crypto things in there. There's not a lot of I haven't gone overboard with it, but yeah, I mean, all my other games, I'm not going to use any crypto terminologies in them. I don't think. I'm just going to go straight for the mainstream style games now, because I've got the sort of Bitcoin themed one, which maybe might help with sort of search optimization, or like when people start searching for Bitcoin games, and there's a game with an icon which has a Bitcoin in it, you know, like they're probably more likely to click on that one than my other game that doesn't have a Bitcoin icon on it. So I'm glad I've got that. But I think, yeah, to start sort of kind of tricking people into Bitcoin games, and they need to be more normal. And there's no Bitcoin, you don't learn about Bitcoin until there's like a tournament in it, and then you suddenly start thinking, okay, I want to enter this tournament. You're already a fan of the game, so you're
Right.
not going to quit. So you try the tournament, and then you don't win, and then you do another tournament, you do win, and then that time you win some Bitcoin, and then you've got some, and you get your wallet, and you're incentivized to get the wallet. So I think we do need to. I'm going to try and, in my future games, try and just do normal games where the Bitcoin is almost like not in there. And it's only the hardcore people who love the game will eventually find the Bitcoin, and then they become hardcore Bitcoin fans, I hope.
Jack, what percentage of your users, like, just like are this is like their first time like earning having Bitcoin?
Yeah, I'm not tracking that particularly well. I do. So basically, I have a metric which is when someone wins Bitcoin in the game, when they want to cash out, if they haven't got a wallet on their phone, a compatible wallet, my app will detect that and say, oh, you should download this wallet, whatever the wallet I'm recommending. And so I can actually detect based on that, like have guess like this percentage of people didn't have a wallet. Unless I do like a questionnaire, I'll never know exactly what it is, but that's something I'm actually starting to look at more, is that kind of statistic. I mean, I might even already have it. I just haven't surfaced out of all my data yet because it's not actually super helpful for me at the moment. But yeah, I think as just from people joining my Discord or messaging me on Telegram, there's quite a lot of people who do ask, like, what's a Satoshi? Like, there are people who are joining and they're like, or people saying this is my first time with the Lightning Network, or they say, I tried the Lightning Network and I didn't like it. You know, there are people, I am getting people, you know, who it is their first time, which is really cool. And that's what I'm aiming for, because the whole point of this sort of cycle of games to start with will be like a lot of people, even Bitcoin people, are trying Lightning for the first time. So it's like everyone is being onboarded. So it needs to be simple, and hopefully I'll be able to give different experiences to people who already have a wallet. You know, someone who's more advanced who has a wallet, maybe they want to cash out in a different way, that kind of thing. But it's early days.
What kind of challenges do you find that like players have with using Lightning with the game? Like what kind of things like confuse them or?
So at first, one of the surprising things was everyone, like, so in Bitcoin Bounce, you can cash out by just tapping a button, and it just automatically opens a compatible Lightning wallet on your phone, and then it uses LNURL to make the payment. So there's no invoices or anything like that. And the first, initially when I released the game, there was like obviously hardcore Lightning people were trying it, and they were like, where do I copy and paste my invoice? And I should say, I'm never putting that in this game. There's never going to be a copy and paste invoice thing in this game. And they're like, oh, but can you add it for like the advanced people? I'm like, no, I'm not adding it. It's easy to click on the button. And also it's a less of a security risk as well, right? Because if I've got a bug with my QR, like the way I create an URL, or if there's some other issue with the way I'm paying for something, if the only way someone can cash out is with this button, they've got to like hack the game, and like they can't just check out the QR code and decode it, you know? So there are other advantages to doing it that way. I think the main issue I had at the start was because I released the game before Zebedee had their tools out. They've got like their SDK now. I was having a lot of problems with payments failing, and I just didn't know why, because I was getting these abstract error messages saying like, I can't even remember. They were just like weird, and no one really knew what they meant. I'd ask people who I thought would know, and they would say, "Oh no, that's a different implementation of Lightning. So we don't know that error. You need to use those people." And I was like, "Oh, how do I find out what all these errors mean?" So in the end, I just did it so that when it failed, the button reset, and it just said try again in 10 minutes or something, and then all of my problems went away. So. I think now it's way better. I guess there was a lot of times the payment was failing on the root, and I just had to set up my node that I had all channels going to all of the wallets that I supported, basically. And then as long as it wasn't going through some crazy route and it was just going from like me to Satoshi's wallet or me to the Breeze wallet's node, you know, then it was almost like there was in the early days there were some like bugs with LNURL on the wallet, so a lot of times the problem, like users the LNURL process would fail. Like, I won't name names in the wallet, which ones it were, but then I would get all the support requests. I'd get like 100 people messaging me at once saying like it's not working, you know. So I think it's mainly just bugs really, but they're all being ironed out now. I think I don't really have any problems, and I'm sure like Zebedee's. Like if I had Zebedee's tools at the start, I would have been able to, instead of the month I spent like trying to figure everything out, I could have just probably made another game by now.
So really, Chris, maybe a question for you is if someone uses, if a developer uses the Zebedee SDK, like how is that? Like what challenges are they still going to see, or things that they're just not used to compared to, you know, what game developers usually do?
So our Unity SDK, it's actually possible to, you can use our Zebedee backend and node in a custodial way as a developer, or you can also attach it to, I think we added support for BTC Pay if you want to be more self hosting, just to give people the options. And obviously, it kind of it's up to the developer. Obviously, we're assuming that the game studios that we want to approach, obviously, that they're not Lightning experts, and we want them to focus on the game. So, if they use our input, our backend, then hopefully there'll be no issues really. I think the only issues they have are more regulation, and that's probably the feedback that we're getting from studios. Like, I'm a studio in the EU. If I add this Lightning, what does that mean for me? So that's the main things that we are tackling, and so hopefully that will kind of help a bunch of studios get onboarded to Lightning. But as for technical ones, the main issue is just wallets. I think, the game developers are more concerned. Okay, so we add Lightning to a game, our player gets some Bitcoin. Like, how does that flow work? Do they have to download a wallet? And they say, yeah, well, at the moment they have to download a wallet. And they said, well, are there any wallets you can recommend? And we say, well, there are some, and but there was not really a gaming optimized wallet.
Yeah.
So hence we are developing the wallet, which hopefully we'll be able to roll out in the next few months. So they were the main issues. Yeah, but if you use your own BTC Pay backend, then I suppose you have the issues that you have with routing. You need to make sure your node is well connected. And we kind of, for users who choose to use their own node, we give the option, hey, make a channel with us. We'd happy to do that. So hopefully that will alleviate the issues. Yeah, that's mainly it. Yeah.
That's cool. So other than that, like other than wallets and managing, like a developer managing their own node, it should be fairly similar to I don't know, any other payment method, I guess, right?
I suppose the concepts, again, like obviously we kind of forget that we're kind of all Bitcoin experts here really, but the average person, just basic concepts of, like I remember some of my games, you get the strangest questions, like got one like, hey, where do I place my blockchain ID? Was a common one I got on games. And these, and
yeah,
like, it turns out, well, what do you mean? And it turns out like that was something from blockchain.info or blockchain.com.
Yeah.
They give you, and that was like the thing. And it's like, no, so you kind of explain to them the ID concept of addresses, and now, well, no, we kind of get like the people who have just got into Bitcoin, now they're into Lightning. Okay, so where do I place my Bitcoin address for Lightning? And actually, no, we don't have addresses anymore. So now hopefully it's invoices, but as Jack said, we're kind of trying to hide invoices. So, hey, okay, I got my head around the addresses. Oh, but I got my head around the invoices. Oh, well, I can't paste an invoice now. It's just ever evolving. So the ultimate, just, you have to worry about it. So that, I guess, are the main issues we get.
Yeah.
All solvable,
It's good issues to have.
Yeah.
Progress, I guess, right? Yeah. Okay. Before we go to Q&A, I have like a last topic / rant that I want to get into. So another, like, I don't know, somewhat popular concept in the crypto community is blockchain games. So I guess those are games where you can buy or trade in-game items as sort of tokens that you trade on a blockchain. I don't know, you buy a sword and the sword is a token, and then you can sell the sword, I guess. As you can hear with my voice, I'm not entirely excited about it. I just don't get it. Did any of you try them? Like, try those games with tokens in them?
I developed them.
So I want to hear about that.
Yeah, so I started with Bitcoin games in 2013 and 14, and then kind of evolved into I made games with Counterparty. So people who aren't familiar with Counterparty, I guess it's like Ethereum before Ethereum on Bitcoin, where you can make NFTs and game tokens. So I was experimenting with that, and I had a few games where you could, if you had a game item as a token, you could. So we partnered with a few games. There was another Counterparty game called Spells of Genesis. I think they've partially moved over to Ethereum as well. But they had a Counterparty game token, and then if you had that token, that would give you a game item in my game. So it's kind of cross collaboration. It's quite interesting. I just we ran into the scaling issue, and then there was a whole question where, like, should this be on the base layer? Because and if it should, then you have to pay for the security, but does your little game item, does that need the security? You know, all this kind of things. So at the time, I think a lot of my contemporaries went over to Ethereum because they were frustrated with fees and things like this. However, my kind of approach was, it's interesting. I don't think there's a decent scaling solution at the moment, because I think it's an order of magnitude just on a technical level to scale NFTs and tokens. My kind of approach was that I think it's also from a game design point of view, it's quite complex. So my focus was, let's just focus on getting one token working first, and that's Bitcoin. And that's going to be the simplest one to explain, and it's the only one that has like a decent scaling solution at the moment. Then phase 2, you know, maybe we can have a look at these game items and how they work from a technical point of view, if they work, and how they make sense in game. Because it's not actually clear at the moment that people want to have a token as a game item. I think it's, in a way, it's coming from the developers and the users. What I saw a lot of is, you know, a game developer, hey, I've made a game, I've made this sword, it's worth a lot of money because I only made one of them.
I hate that.
Which is like, you know,
I hate that.
I think it's like, I can draw a picture and there's only one of them. Doesn't mean it's Picasso.
It should be like someone's had to make effort in a game. You need to like have the player's got to put in the effort in the game, and they find an item that has no scarcity. The scarcity comes from how difficult it is to achieve. And then those achieved items then have some kind of value, I suppose.
Also, I think there is a value to have this kind of idea of like transparency, and maybe it lets you kind of take something like an IOU out into a different ecosystem. But what kind of frustrating and what kind of annoyed me was a lot of people were saying like, it's true ownership. You hear this concept branded that if you own this spaceship in our game, that's your spaceship and it's true ownership, and the game doesn't own it. But then the game developer is like the master of the universe. They can it doesn't matter if you have a token, they can deny you that spaceship, right? It's not that straightforward. So like I said, I think it's interesting. I just think it's a bit more difficult, an order of magnitude more difficult technically, and also from a game design point of view, that I took a step back and sticking with Lightning at the moment. But I'm open to it, and I think there are cool concepts possible.
I think, I mean, if you just think about the user and like, you know, it's already hard enough to get people to want to play games on Bitcoin, like, but most people have heard of Bitcoin. Like introducing people to a game where it's like, oh, hey, well, this sword is a token and you can take it here. Like, but I just feel like that's just like a whole nother hurdle that you have to like jump over to get people like onboarded and playing your games. And, you know, I think it just like, it's overly complicated in my opinion. You know, I mean, it looks like, I mean, people are building really cool games, like, doing that whole token thing, and like they're beautiful and awesome, and like, you know, I you know, it's a fair space. Like Udi, I know you have like a lot of saltiness around this, but like, you know, I mean, whatever succeeds. But you know, obviously, like all of our eggs are in the Bitcoin and Lightning basket. But
Yeah, so just to jump in again, like what I've kind of seen, because I've followed this space like kind of on the fringes, and what I've seen at the moment, there's actually a lot of interest into this kind of blockchain gaming from large companies like Ubisoft and all these things. But everybody at the moment are making distributed databases, right? I've gathered, because just to solve the scaling issue. I think maybe they call it a blockchain, but maybe at the moment there's a place where it exists where some sort of like distributed database, and it offers some transparency. It's like database game item plus or something.
Yeah.
But
so
I think blockchain is a bit misleading.
What I've seen like quite often, like there are like two types. There are like those game items on blockchains like Ethereum and I guess some other large public ones, which are like, you know, right now they're basically unusable because the fees in Ethereum are, you know, people are competing for like trading all those new coins right now with fees. So there's really no room for NFTs right now. But there are other games that use those, you know, those kind of distributed databases that you mentioned. They're like sort of side chains or whatever.
Yeah, federated
and I guess
chain, private chain. I think.
Yeah, and I guess it's just a public ledger of gaming items, which I guess is fine. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm never sure if that's something that gamers actually want. But that being said, obviously people are playing them. Like at least in the cryptocurrency community, some people seem to like them. So.
Yeah, I think there's still an issue around you kind of see a lot of games do this, and it kind of sets a bad trend where, they kind of like sell game items before games are made and stuff like if they're on a federated chain or not. And then, I think it goes into murky waters there.
True. Okay, I feel like I ranted enough about NFTs. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll open this to questions from the audience. And the way this works is you should all see a raise hand button popping up at the right bottom of your screen. You can just click that, and then I'll let you ask a question. So let's start with BitPaint. BitPaint, go ahead.
Hey there. I think we haven't talked about the platforms like Steam and all the platforms that are actually you develop your game and you put it on, but they have this kind of mechanism, marketplace inside already implemented, and you're gonna disrupt this. So how do you think this will play out?
I think as soon as like a platform gets any traction, Steam will just buy them. It's just they just get bought, and that's how it will change. They won't change. They'll just buy whoever's getting in traction. Personally, I don't know about Apple. They might be to change. Might require the government to change that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Next up, let's see. Next up is CQ.
Hey. Cool. So I have a question for you guys. I used to work in the gaming industry for about 7 years, and typically people who want to work in the game industry were formerly gamers themselves. So, for example, you would have people who played World of Warcraft all the time would want to work for Blizzard. People these days who are into blockchain stuff and video games are also very creative. You have music artists, you have 3D modelers, you have people who like to do sound engineering and stuff like that. So I guess my question for you is for everybody who has a creative talent like that, where would you recommend them to go to develop creative assets for blockchain related stuff, so that everybody's kind of like this one big giant family, sort of kind of like the Blizzard universe is?
I think probably I guess we have a Discord on Zebedee, which is kind of suited toward game developers, where you can jump in and just chat and discuss concepts and things like this. Just for the wider kind of community, I think maybe this is something that Bitcoin needs to start to bring back, because originally a lot of these creative people were basically told to F off on Bitcoin for right or wrong reasons, just because when I was developing games on it, it was like people would say, well, I get that you're an artist and you're creative, but not on the base chain, please. So a lot of those people went over to other blockchains which are a bit more friendly. So I think now that we have the Lightning Network, it is a much more friendlier space for creative people and app developers. So I think that we just kind of probably need to start bringing that back, and I think it'll probably evolve and is emerging naturally at the moment. Yeah, that's kind of my thought.
There's a Sparkshot. Have you heard of that? Sparkshot?
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's I believe it works that artists can put their artwork on the website, and then people can come and pay for pixels to sort of reveal the artwork on there. So that's quite a cool little website. If you're an artist and you want to show your work, that's sparkshot.io.
I'm sure they have like a Telegram group or something where artists can chat, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's one I know of. For art, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll see these like Discord groups and Telegram groups and like emerging as companies start to build more things with Lightning.
I think also didn't Square Crypto create a creative Slack? So if you're creative and into Bitcoin, there's a Slack group. It's like called Bitcoin Designers or something like that. You have to look on the Square Crypto Twitter or
Yeah.
Yes, that might be a good place actually.
Yeah, and we throw people's artwork up in our VR gallery. So if you want to be featured there, definitely shoot us your artwork.
Mint Gox VR gallery. Yeah.
Yeah, or any 3D models. If you're a 3D game modeler and you want to show how good you are making 3D models, like last Mincox, Chris made a big display new all the cars from my new game. And so if you're just a 3D modeler, I'm sure we could do something
I am
cool
looking
like
for
that.
sculptures actually to get some 3D art.
Sculptures or
One of the things
so
that's
3D artists.
impressive in VR is you can make something look really big and look at it. It's like, wow, it's so big.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thanks for the question, CQ. And let's see. Next up is Konstantin. Go ahead.
Hey guys, first of all, thanks to this panel. I'll be really excited to just learn more about blockchain gaming. I frequent with Jerome at the Blockchain Center in Miami before we were shut down because of the pandemic. We're the epicenter now in the U.S. Yay! Yeah, we're just hoping to get better. But anywho, I've been a gamer for a big portion of my life across a plethora of systems. I know friends, of course, that have gamed a lot, and of course, like I think I can speak for a lot of people in this room that in trying to bring people on board with Bitcoin and crypto, it's been like bringing that horse to water. You know, you can break the horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. It's been so frustrating because, you know, the stuff's so powerful. Could using in your plans, of course, to make this more mainstream, and Jack, I like what you're doing, of course, with your game in terms of not making crypto related, because I think that turns a lot of people off. Do you think that eventually in this industry, do you think that people could eventually turn this into some sort of partial or full-time income, or maybe become more like an MLG streamer, or that becomes more democratized and more available, or is that something that's too lofty?
Well, I think there isn't really anyone doing Bitcoin game content, you know, creating content just like normal streaming on Twitch. There's not really anyone doing that kind of thing. So there's literally like the possibilities are endless, really, of what people can do.
Zebedee is working on something that will kind of help that. So I wouldn't say too much, but it's that people stream and earn sats or something. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. There's lots of stuff that's going to come out. Like we actually developed some cool games. We actually to kind of help attract people who like. I kind of see a simple game like Jack's game is a great way to introduce people into Bitcoin. You know, you just give them a game. They don't really have to do any KYC. They just download a wallet and link a wallet, and they just play a bit and get some stats. It's a great onboarding tool. So we did develop this basically similar to like Pokemon Go, but with Lightning, so people could go and collect Lightning by walking around. But obviously, that game became not playable when people were locked up. So we were almost there. So hopefully, we have some more games coming this year that will kind of aimed at easily onboarding people. And then we have like streaming tools, so all these things. It's just a matter of time. You know, this stuff takes time to build, really. Yeah, but we're getting there.
Looking forward to it. Cool. Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for the question. Next up, let's see. Next up, we have Ty. Go ahead.
Hey, you guys. Love what you guys are doing. I'm really excited about, this whole space, being a gamer myself. But, just like the ability to be able to earn real money by, killing people online. I think that's a really cool thing. And I think, I think it has the potential to become really sticky. But, as you guys know, as gamers, in gaming, especially as like as a game becomes more popular, you do run into the issue of things like hacking and exploits and stuff. And, even like big companies and, big games, they always run into that problem. So have you guys thought about, this at all, or like some way to kind of address this hacking issue?
It has been an issue. Like in my original games, it was a big issue. Like I said, it's not necessarily a new issue. It's just the incentives are now more. It's really about incentives. So all games are kind of hackable. It's just it's all about, is it worth putting the effort into hacking it? in order to get the payoff. I think, was it a game? I can't. One of Riot's games. I think the game does something at the kernel level of the computer or something to stop people. And I heard it was breaking people's computers. Is an issue. Like, there are kind of ways to mitigate against it. I think one thing with Lightning and Sats, eventually you can kind of require things like bots to pay, which is one way to do it. But I think ultimately it's more about game design. And also there is a level of breakage, right? Like if 99.9% of the players are happy and are not hacking, if you have some small hackers you have to deal with, or some bots, it's not the end of the world. But it definitely is an issue. But like on my first game, I would have like bot detection tools, and I actually found that some players were very similar to bots. They were playing so much because they could earn Bitcoin. But I was like, hey, are you really playing like 12 hours a day? Like, yes, I'm playing now, So there was one actually guy, I had like a Pokemon Go style game before where people could travel around the world and collect Bitcoin. It's like a geocaching game. And one of the basic things you do is you basically detect people's speed. If they're traveling faster than a plane, you know that they're not a real person traveling. There's somebody who's faking their location and jumping around. So, and that would blacklist the device. And I got this message from a user saying, hey, I was blacklisted. Like, oh, come on. You obviously, you spoofed your GPS. No, I was literally on the plane. Oh, come on. He actually sent me a picture of his plane ticket and him on the plane where he'd played the game on the runway. And then the plane took off, and he must have got like good tailwind, and he went faster than the plane does. And when he landed, he started the game straight away. So it's kind of interesting that, sometimes when you have Bitcoin games, people play like bots. And then I kind of think that maybe we shouldn't discriminate against bots, like the idea that robots, Lightning is money for not just humans, or Bitcoin, it's money for robots too. So maybe it's an interesting concept there.
Cool. Yeah, bots are a thing. I don't know. Sometimes on Twitter, I feel like I'm mostly speaking to bots. I bet it's sports and games. I don't know.
I thought you were a bot.
Yeah, well, maybe I am. So, okay, next question is from Jin. Hey, Jin, maybe actually you have some counterpoints on my NFT rant, but you can ask whatever you want.
Yeah. Hey, that conversation's probably best saved for later, but gamer myself. And I wanted to talk about the friction y'all kind of mentioned about the gatekeepers, the app stores, essentially, and and also wallets and all of this kind of like, I really like, to your point, kind of having crypto afterwards for the hardcore users to adopt, but really just kind of removing the token aspect and make the game fun first. But when it comes to like removing friction, you still gotta, like, for a lot of these games, it seems like they're downloadables, they're like standalone apps. Is anyone doing anything where it's web gaming? Any kind of, because games on the web are getting good with WebAssembly and WebXR and WebGPU. Like, the web is becoming a really excellent distribution platform where you can skirt around all these gatekeepers and reach people without any installs. Any action happening there in the blockchain gaming space here? Or like
tomorrow at MintGox. Yeah, short answer. We have like two simple games that you can play whilst watching the live stream. So kind of like faucet style games, where you kind of arcade games where you play in the web and as you watch the live stream and get some sat. And then we have the Bitcoin Rally game, which is like a 3D Mario Kart game that you can also play in the browser if you want to compete in that tournament. However, places are limited for that. It's like 6 players per game, so it's first come, first serve. But that game in the next few MintGoxes will open it up so anybody can play. But yeah, definitely on web, because
live?
It'll be live tomorrow at MintGox. So at the moment, they're only live at the MintGox events. However, we are going to open them up to be playable, like kind of on outside of MintGox as well. We just need to kind of, because at the moment the games are funded by sponsors, and the sponsors are kind of sponsoring the MintGox events. So that's why the games are open and paying out sats during the events. However, once we're kind of coming up with a model for more like daily sponsors or long-term sponsors, and that way the games will be playable 24 hours. So that's coming. But you can take a sneak peek at Mint Gox tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Looking forward to it.
No worries.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Gene. Let's see. And we have a question from Waxwing. Waxwing, go ahead.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so my angle from all this is I'm not really a gamer, at least I wasn't in most of my life, but VR really kind of grabbed my imagination sort of thing, and naturally being a Bitcoiner and being kind of obsessed when I sort of got into VR, I was constantly thinking about how can Bitcoin interact with this thing like everything else in life. So I mean, the first thing that jumps into my mind is not so much this stuff where you have like these games. I mean, I'm sure it's really cool, the stuff where you handing out little bits of Satoshis, especially with Lightning. It makes that, it's a lovely kind of use case. But the first thing that jumped out in my mind was like, you know, I go into VR chat, and wouldn't it be really cool if I could just directly transfer? I'm thinking about peer-to-peer transfers. You know, can I just transfer money? And I just suddenly, and when I started thinking about it, I realized it's really kind of a subtle and complex question, because there's so many facets to it. Like, first of all, this whole issue of being like throttled and controlled by companies, you know, proprietary software, and being restricted by terms of use and stuff like that. So one thing is, like, even if you come up with a way for people to transfer money in these virtual environments, you know, will companies attack you and shut you down just like they do in the real world? And what were the other examples I had in mind? Like for example, I play Beat Saber a lot, and I'm thinking like, oh, could you do like some kind of plugin? Because I have all these kind of mods and plugins on Beat Saber. Could you just like have a little plugin so maybe somebody's streaming and you could pay them Bitcoin while you stream, or you could have like a competition where you get a number of Satoshis for how many blocks you hit or something stupid like that. But all of this stuff is like, is there a way for people to do this kind of thing without it just not working because the companies control everything, you know, the VR environments or the games themselves? Are there any workarounds, is what I'm thinking?
Maybe from sorry to put in, I've spoken a lot, but maybe from a technical point of view, I can probably answer that. Because, I've been working with AltSpace. And my first, so in the Mint Gox world, we actually have this kind of the Bitcoin magic money Bitcoin wizard guy. He kind of like Bitcoins fall from his hand. And I thought, it'd be really cool if when you stand under there, that you actually get some of the Bitcoins. And then like AltSpace, it's not just about Bitcoin. AltSpace don't let you do any programming just for security reasons. You can only like place objects. However, AltSpace is starting to open up. So I think PC games are a lot, because most VR is on PC. So I think it's definitely possible. You know, I think if AltSpace doesn't do it, you can kind of mod it, but mods, like Beat Saber has mods, it's not super user friendly.
No. So
it is on my roadmap to try and experiment with like make a kind of VR multiplayer game. Another aspect of this is the wallet. You need to be able to have a wallet that links with the game. So we're working on that. And once we have that, then I can make like a simple game with VR where you can walk around and like zap lightning out your hand and take sats or something like that. It's definitely possible. But obviously the mainstream platforms, without a mod, it's up to them really if they implement it or not, which they probably won't.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned mods, because that is a kind of a way, and that is a kind of a grey area, isn't it? Because if you take Beat Saber is a good example. It has a massive modding community, and you know, there's all kinds of documentation. And I probably think I could probably do it myself using NBitcoin or something. Actually, like they've got the multiplayer mod. You could probably add in some. It would be really tricky, really difficult work, but you could add in something where there's a transfer of sats during the play. It's possible.
Yeah, it broke up a bit there for me, but like I guess NBitcoin is C#, and most of these games are made in C# Unity.
That's what I meant.
Like actually, as next month, I'm trying to mod Quake to make Bitcoin work with it. So maybe
the same thing. Yeah, maybe.
I'll see how easy it is or not.
Cool. Thanks.
I think you have a lot of you'd have a lot of people who play Bitcoin Beat Saber for sure. I definitely would.
We did have somebody who
join us for multiplayer.
We did have somebody who wanted to make
Cool. I'll shoot you a message.
It's in Udi's Telegram. It's we can talk there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you should do it. You should do it. I always find excuses not to go, but but yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Okay, I think that's our last one. Thanks, Waxwing. And well, let's see. Yeah, so this was actually really awesome. So thank you, Christian and Desiree and Jack, for joining. I really enjoyed this. And guys, don't forget to check out mintgox.com for tomorrow. You should sign up for it has like a VR component, so you should sign up for that too. And thanks JC and CQ and Andrew for helping with moderating this today. Again, if you're watching this on video, then you should definitely join us next time. You don't have to have a VR headset. You can join just from your PC. So you can go to recklessvr.com, sign up, and you'll get invites to your mailbox, or follow reckless_VR on Twitter, or join our Reckless VR Telegram group, and you'll get all the notifications you need. Yeah, and well, as we do every weekend, so after this, we're going to jump into VR chat. For those of you who don't know this, it's kind of like going out for drinks after a meetup, because VR chat is like, you can have like customized avatars, and they have like cool Bitcoin world. So I recommend joining it. It's pretty cool. I'll probably do like a 15 to 20 minutes break, and then I'll shoot a message on the Telegram channel that I started the VR chat world. And yeah, you can stick around here if you want, or take a break too. And yeah, see you next week. I'm gonna let you speak again. Yep, you have voice.
Mag, are you able to do the